I wanted you to give us an assessment of where do you think the UAE-US technology relationship is right now? And what do you see as the area where we can do more?
The moment we stop being innovative and creative, the moment we stop accepting differences, we moved backwards.
Let's talk a little bit about Mission Mars, the impact that it had in your country.
That was the message to the world that impossible is possible, and we made it happen. Because the UAE didn't look at it as a competition, rather looked at it as a cooperation.
Hi, welcome back to Memos to the President. I'm Ylli with the Special Competitive Studies Project. It's truly an honor to host on my podcast His Excellency Omran Sharaf, who serves as the Assistant Foreign Minister for Advanced Technologies and Science in the United Arab Emirates. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's truly an honor to have you here today. Thank you. You just flew in from UAE. It's great to have you in DC. Let me start with first talking about your journey, because I think your journey is truly a journey of your country in how every chapter brought more advanced technologies, more advancements in your country's reach towards becoming an important technological hub. So let's talk about your roots first of your education. I know we're in Virginia, and I know you have fond memories by being in Virginia. Can you talk about your time at UVA?
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I have to say UVA played a vital role in shaping who I am today. UVA, Charlottesville, the history of the university itself, how integrated and embedded it is in the US ecosystem, especially in DC, when it comes to shaping the US foreign policy, when it comes to preparing the future leaders who will contribute to shaping that aspect, but also on the technical side, and when it comes to actually preparing engineers and scientists. I did my bachelor in electrical engineering at UVA. And the nice thing I have to say, like living, because in UVA you had to live in dorms, like your first year. So for 4 years I actually stayed in dorms.
Wow.
And I had friends from different disciplines, you know, living with us on the same floor, having the kind of those random chats in the social areas and in the hallways, sitting on the floors in the hallways and just chatting, you know. And a lot of them came from a background that was focused on political science, foreign affairs, international relations, and business. And myself and a few others had a background in engineering. So sitting together, them discussing politics, us discussing engineering
Right.
and sciences, it was a very, very unique kind of setup. Did I ever think that one day I will actually work in foreign affairs? No, I didn't.
Right.
But did UVA prepare me for that day? Yes, it did.
Right.
Those discussions that I had in hallways, those electives that I had to take as a UVA, even though as engineers we had to actually, study technical and topics and subjects, but there were requirements that made us take certain social sciences and electives that broadened our understanding of things. Did I expect to deploy those experiences one day in my life in the way that I am today? I didn't. And the nice thing is, I have to say, like before going to UVA, if you look at the story behind that, you know, I remember having a conversation with my dad when I was applying to colleges. And he's like, Imran, have you thought about what you want to actually focus on? I said, well, there are 3 areas I'm looking into. And he's like, what are these? And I'm like, telecommunications and electronic engineering. He's like, okay, good. And I'm like, political science. He's like, okay, good. And also accounting. He's like, these are all 3 good majors.
Right.
But he's like, there's one problem. I was like, what? He's like, they're all very different.
Right. You make up your mind.
And basically he's like, you know, why? They're so diverse. I was like, well, I love math, you know, and I love physics. And this is why I looked into engineering and also into accounting. But also I love history. And that's why I looked into like political science, because the history of countries and how they evolved, civilization and all that. And the political structure of countries was something that I had interest in. So he's like, listen, Imran, he's like, one day if you decide to do masters, just keep in mind, you know, whatever you decide today will affect that decision. I was like, okay. He's like, if you do computer science, or if you do, for example, accounting, and then one day you decide to become an engineer, you cannot do that. You'll have to study engineering all over again, and then do your get your master's or PhD or whatever you want to do in engineering. But then, if you decide to do engineering today, and then later on you want to do your master's in, as in get MBA or in political science or areas related to that, you can always do that as a master's. You don't have to go restart your full academic kind of background and education to be able to do that. I was like, okay, and that's how I decided. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do engineering, and I'm going to do it in UVA.
Right.
So after graduation, actually, I mean, I have to say it was. I went back home. I mean, while I was in college, I always dreamt, because I saw the U.S. space program. UVA had different projects with NASA and other entities working within the space program, and I saw how some of my peers and friends were actually involved in these projects. So, and I found it very, very interesting. At that time, UAE was just operating satellites. We did not build satellites. We owned satellites, we launched them, but we didn't build them. Right. I always thought it's going to be not in my generation or my time, probably in my like the future generation, like our kids or maybe even grandchildren. That's when we might have a space program in the UAE similar to what there is in the US. So it was a dream that I wished if I was able to be part of it. And my plan was always to go back home. And I thought, it's like, you know what, I'll work into something related to engineering, at least get a touch of some of these things, through whatever we have available in our ecosystem. I came back home, and the first thing, within like less than a week, I got this job offer of, like, the government officials sat with me and they're like, we want to start a space program. You want to be part of it.
Right. And you wrote your thesis.
Exactly.
On this, right?
And I was like, definitely, yes.
So somebody was reading your thesis somewhere.
And I was like, I would love to. And they're like, you're going to be the first employee. I was like, I'll be honored.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's another thing. You just came back from the US, but then we might have to send you abroad. I was like, okay. It's like, we're not going to just go and buy a system. You're going to build it with partners. And you're going to be involved in selecting that partner with the team that's going to be established. Right. And we selected South Korea.
Right. Why South Korea, Your Excellency?
South Korea, they gave us the best offer because the main objective or requirement that we set for that project was know-how.
Okay.
And they gave us the best know-how package. It was basically, the idea was for us to build an Earth observation mission, an optical one, and to work with our South Korean partners on designing that system, on the job training and supervision. And the UAE contribution to that mission, it was Dubai Sat-1. It was about 30%. So just to go back also to the purpose of our space program at that time. So when they told me, they're like, listen, the main idea here is not to build satellites or the space program. The main idea here is for us to set the foundation for the science and technology sector for the UAE. Right. UAE's leadership wants to diverse its economy. We have diversified it a lot in different areas, whether it's tourism or real estate or the financial sector and so on. But for the sustainable development of the UAE, for the future of UAE's economy, we have to have a very capable, competitive, innovative science and technology sector that supports that.
Right.
And the space program will be kind of the accelerator for that. Why? Because it requires different disciplines to deliver a system. You need to have an expert mechanical engineer, an expert electrical, computer scientists, and system engineers to all work together and deliver a system. And if you look at standards as in quality, if you want to be competitive internationally, globally, so in technology, or even as an industry, we look at standards. You start with commercial standard, and then you go with industrial grade standard, and then you go to the military grade, and then the highest is space.
Right.
If you're able to deliver a space grade system, right, then you should be able to deliver anything else
across all the other
domains. Exactly. So that was the idea. I was like, okay. So basically they're like, you'll have to be based out of the country for that. And I was based at the beginning. Initially, it was supposed to be 3 years.
Right.
So Dubai Sat 1 was delivered within 3 years and launched.
Okay.
And the Emirati contribution was about 30%.
Okay.
So then the government was like, we're very happy with what we saw. We need to take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, are we ready to do it in the UAE yet? And we're like, we can, but we need facilities. And those facilities are going to cost a lot.
Right.
Should we wait until we build those facilities, or should we focus on building something quickly now and increasing the kind of the know-how or the Emirati contribution in the mission? And they're like, let's do Dubai Sat 2. And let's focus on designing something totally new, because Dubai Sat 1, there was kind of a legacy behind it that the company that we worked with used in designing it. And there was also more of a kind of an on-the-job training. Dubai Sat 2, the idea was like, shouldn't be on-the-job training. We should work as the normal team members, contributing 50-50 to the...
Fully embedded. Yeah.
Exactly. So we like work as normal engineers with experience. And the government, before taking kind of that strategic step of building facilities in the UAE, we need to make sure that we're able to build something that is novel on our own.
Right.
So Dubai Sat 2 was also an optical system that we built. And our contribution was 50%, and it was very different. It was basically us working jointly with our South Korean partners and coming up with new foreground IP. We were sharing our background IP, they were sharing their background IP, and we developed a totally new optical system, much more advanced than Dubai Sat 1.
By this time, how many people were there from your country, Your Excellency?
So by the time we delivered Dubai Sat 2, so by the end of the 8 years I was there, we were up more than 25 people based there. Sometimes it could go up to like 30, 35, but it was like more than 25 basically who were based there. Those are the kind of the main engineers building the system. And my last 2 years, while I was actually finalizing Dubai Sat 2, and we were also kind of starting the initial designs of Khalifa Sat, which was built 100% in the UAE. So we were supposed to shift back to the UAE and build it. So 2 years before that, I decided to do my master's. And I did it in South Korea, in KAIST.
Yeah. You did it in English or?
In English. But, and I did it in science and technology policy.
Okay.
With a focus on topics related to political science, kind of an angle to them, or nature to them.
Did you call your dad before you decided to do this master's now to tell him that you're going to do poli-sci?
I didn't, but I just remembered what he told me before. You know, and at that point, again, I was like, I'm doing it because I have interest in policy. I do it because I have interest in topics related to political science and other topics with a strategic kind of, angle to them. And I was like, this is perfect. So I was doing full-time masters and I was working full-time because they didn't offer it as a part-time.
Yeah.
It was hell.
I bet.
But we managed to get it done. And by that time I was done, I was back in the UAE. And then the leadership was like, we
have a new assignment for you.
Yes, we want to go to Mars.
Right.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And they gave us this very, very ambitious set of goals. They're like, now we really want to accelerate the development of our science and tech sector. At that time, it was basically end of 2013, early 2014. They're like, we have 7 years before our 50th anniversary, and we want to celebrate it with a huge achievement.
Right.
They're like, can you take us to Mars? And we're like, sure, depends on the requirements.
This was the job interview question. Can you take us to Mars?
It was the same team, basically. It was, and at that time, the center was going through a big transformation. Our team grew significantly. Like we reached over 150 employees, like within 2 years after that, and then today the center is, I think, almost 300 employees. But they said, basically, it will have to be a novel science. Don't start from scratch. Start where others ended and learn from others the same way you learned in the optical systems programs. Don't buy it, build it.
Right.
And the science has to be novel. And then there is another thing. The Prime Minister himself told us, you will not only build a spacecraft, you as a team,
Right.
group of scientists and engineers will not just deliver a system that's just going to put UAE's name around Mars. No. Your job is to go and change curriculums in schools. Your job is to start new programs and departments in universities. Your job is to set up new organizations and bodies handling and managing advanced science and advanced technology and critical and emerging technologies. They're like, will be your job. On top of building a mission to Mars, you will have to work with kids in kindergarten, in schools, and high schools, in universities, but also you'll have to work with industry and change and start new kind of, opportunities for industries to work in advanced tech.
Right.
And we did that with the Mars mission. We worked with our partners in the United States. We chose the United States, and our main partner was the University of Colorado Boulder. Right. And also we had Arizona State University and University of California, Berkeley. We all worked together as one team. Why the States? Because they gave us the best know-how program that would prepare UAE to be able to build deep space missions. Right. The thing is also, like, we had 450 people who worked on the Mars mission. We had 200 Emiratis who worked on the mission by the time the mission was delivered. We had 150 from our knowledge transfer partners in the States. And we had 100 subcontractors from around the world that contributed to the mission. But there's one thing I want to mention, that among the 100 subcontractors, the majority were American companies. Why? Because by default, our main partners, know-how partners, are
Americans,
American universities. Right. If you go to our optical systems program, or Earth observation satellites program, our default partners are the South Koreans, and through them, the South Korean companies are by default having a bigger kind of role in our optical program. So today in our deep space mission, for example, or in our astronaut programs, we have the US as the main partner and the US industry through that. So it tells you the power of know-how. Why? Because, for example, in Mars mission, our design is based on subsystems or subcomponents that are based on designs made by our US partners. So from a risk point of view, my engineers and scientists are more comfortable to work with partners in the US. So it's natural. Right. So it creates that kind of strategic partnership and reliance to some extent. It brings transparency to both sides about how this know-how, this technology being deployed and used in a responsible way. It emphasizes the responsible culture between both nations, and it bridges the gaps and help both nations understand each other better, especially when it comes to technology security and know-how security, especially when it comes to topics that are linked to global competition and opportunities for nations, and each nation having its responsibility towards serving their national needs and national interests.
Let's talk a little bit about Mission Mars, because big undertaking, as you mentioned, not just as an end station where you wanted to go, but sort of like the impact that it had in your country. Describe to you the day when you were launching it. Because I heard that story once and it was really remarkable. And just from your perspective, how did it feel that day?
I'm getting goosebumps as you ask me this question, to be honest. I just remember that day. There's 2 days that were very, very important. Actually, 3 days, sorry. The day of the announcement of the mission. Then the second day was the day of the launch of the mission. And the third day was the day that we reached Mars, because it was a 7-month journey in which we traveled for more than 490 million kilometers until we reached Mars. The launch, why did it matter a lot? Because, it's something that you cannot fully control. You've put 6 years of effort into building this system from scratch. We didn't go buy a system, we built it. A new architecture that was very novel in its approach, very efficient. We delivered the mission for only $200 million with our partners in the US. That's significant. There's a lot of innovation that went in there, but with innovation, risks comes. So putting it on the launcher and then launching it, and you're not having full control over that aspect,
Right.
makes you a little bit concerned. The effort that you put into this, the work you put into this, might just go away with just a small mistake.
Right.
Even if the launch was successful.
Right.
After the launch.
How many tests you have done until that point?
A lot. Like if you talk about even scenarios that we had to make the spacecraft go through, or the subsystem go through.
Right.
More than hundreds of thousands of scenarios. And so what we focus on in our design and architecture, actually, we didn't, for example, traditionally people do double or triple redundancy approach with system architecture. We didn't do that. We did a selective redundancy approach in which certain parts we had redundancies, some we didn't. Instead of having a fully redundant subsystem, within the subsystems, we had like redundancies in the design. So it was a very novel approach, I have to say. And what we focused on, because we had only 6 years, missions like this usually take 10 to 12 years to deliver. We had to deliver it for 6 years and for only $200 million. We couldn't go over that. Right. So we're like, you know what? Let's test it, and then test it.
Right.
Rather than trying to cover the kind
efficiencies.
Exactly, by getting redundancies. Because that's what matters the most. Because if you don't test it and you have a redundancy, then the fault is still there in the design. You didn't fix it. So this is something that we actually came up with, the approach that really helped, and honestly, so after the spacecraft separated from the launcher, and that's when you actually know if your spacecraft worked or not, because now finished, the job of the launcher is gone. It's done, sort of. And you have to wait for the first contact, and when the first contact was established, and shortly after that, we found out that the solar panels were fully deployed safely and are functioning. That means the spacecraft is able to power itself. That was a moment of relief. And then there was another moment of also high stress. We had 7-month journey in which we had to conduct maneuvers. Any single mistake in any of these maneuvers, we will actually lose the mission. And we will have to rely on our design, our propulsion systems, our navigation system that we've never tested before in space.
Right.
You can test your propulsion system on Earth for very short duration of time. You cannot test it a lot. The navigation you can always simulate, but then a single mistake could ruin things, So as a nation, and even as University of Colorado Boulder being the main partner, we were kind of launching something, or not launching actually, we were navigating a spacecraft using our design to Mars for the first time in space. So the chances of failure was 50%, literally 50%. And then on the 9th of Feb, 2021, few months before the 50th anniversary of the UAE, was the day that the UAE reached Mars. I swear to God, I remember this day, till today. I had like a flashback of the past almost 7 years, of all the ups and downs we had, of all the things that we broke, burned in the labs, of the difficult decisions we had to make, of how we had to navigate the ecosystem, and not just deliver the system, inspire Emirati youth, change the mindset of the Emirati youth, start new programs, and we did. A new space body was established, federal body, because of the Emirates Mars mission, UAE Space Agency. A council of scientists, UAE Science Council, was established for the first time because of the Emirates Mars mission, by the Emirates Mars mission team. A ministry for advanced science and technology was established. And that first minister was Tara Al-Amiri, my deputy in the mission, who was handling science affairs in the mission. Curriculums changed, outreach programs changed, the space programs changed. And there was another angle to the mission that the government made it very clear when they announced it in 2014. At that time, there was, if you remember, there was the Arab Spring, and we had Daesh coming out, ISIS, spreading very negative thoughts among the Arab youth, making the youth in the region to be creative in the wrong ways and innovative in the wrong ways. So when that mission was announced, the Emirates Mars mission, and the reason why UAE called it Hope mission was to send a message of hope to the Arab youth, a region that had more than 100 million youth in it. that more than 800 or 900 years ago was a symbol of coexistence, a region that used to generate knowledge, a region that had scientists from different parts of the world, different backgrounds, different religions, contributing and building the region. The moment we stopped being innovative and creative, the moment we stopped accepting differences, we moved backwards. So the message to the UAE youth, to the Arab youth, through the Emirates Mars mission was that if a country like the UAE that has more than 200 nationalities living together, every single person in our nation contributed in putting UAE's name around Mars. And we delivered the mission less than 50 years. Then given your history, you can do much more as Arab youth. And basically the message is like coexistence, respect for differences are essential. And this is how we can build the region. So there's a lot of skepticism at the beginning when the mission was announced in 2014, to be very frank and honest, by different players around the world. So on the 9th of February 2021, when we reached, that was the message to the Arab youth and to the world that the impossible is possible. And we made it happen because we didn't start from scratch, but we worked with others. Because the UAE didn't look at it as a competition, rather looked at it as a cooperation. Because we accepted the differences and because we worked with people from different mindsets, different backgrounds, different religions, different beliefs, and we all made the UAE reach Mars.
I wanted to ask you, my next question is, it seems to me that your country sets up these Apollo-like projects, space, AI, and then you push the nations towards achieving that objective. But also as a secondary effect, I think you're building an ecosystem. You're building, as you said, young generation of people focused on this. You're building the new innovation ecosystem with new companies, new startups focused on all these things. Tell me, how do you decide to do these kind of things? Now you're the assistant foreign minister, so obviously you don't want to, your tagline is a tech diplomat. So now, when you explain to foreign countries, how do you decide which technologies to focus on? Why do you do it for the benefit of your country? And then what do you expect others to do to help you achieve those objectives?
So what areas of technology to focus on is determined by our national needs and our national interest. So if you look at AI, for example, the reason why the UAE is investing a lot in AI is because, number one, the UAE wants to provide the highest quality and standard of living to its population and citizens, and for the future of our economy. These are the main reasons, for example, why the UAE is looking into AI. So we have set of areas, focus areas that the UAE would like to build or is building capacity and capability in it. AI and other critical and emerging technologies fields also. And the reason why this office was established in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that is focused on tech and science diplomacy is to ensure that the UAE has access to the best technology, and at the same time to ensure that the UAE has access to the best know-how. Know-how became an important pillar in all our partnerships, especially in things that are related to technology or systems that are very technical in their nature. And why, again, foreign affairs is playing a vital role is because international cooperation and international relations was a pillar in building our space program, was a critical pillar in building our nuclear program, which set the golden standard, by the way. The 123 agreement is a golden standard. And also, if you look at UAE's track record in its security and defense sector, working with partners like the U.S., we have a track record in which we are setting kind of the standards for technology security and know-how security when it comes to these systems. So the government wanted to see that model being replicated in new areas, in AI, genomes, and future areas that the UAE is looking into, whether it's technology related to food security or water security and others. So, and to do that, you have to have a body within your foreign affairs that looks into that and basically address our three red lines when it comes to our foreign policy that are related to technology. The first red line is our sovereignty. The second red line is our credibility. And the third red line is the trust that our partners put in us and the trust that we put in our partners. These are the red lines that UAE's foreign policy is shaped around when it comes to technology and advanced sciences and critical and emerging technologies. And we as an office make sure that these red lines and risks are managed and considered. At the same time, making sure that the UAE has the access to the best technology, research, and know-how.
Right. We're in Washington, Your Excellency, so I'm sure you have a lot of meetings this week with the administration officials. I wanted you to give us an assessment of where do you think the UAE-US technology relationship is right now. I know you're investing a lot in AI. I know, the president was there. There was a Stargate announcement, UAE cluster. Where do you see, the relationship right now? What are some of the challenges? I know we went through like an episode recently when it came to this particular issue. And what do you see as the area where we can do more?
So, honestly, the US, not today or like a few years ago, but since the establishment of the UAE, the US has been an important partner for the UAE when it comes to technology. In the past, when we were more focused on procuring technology rather than developing it,
right,
the US was an important strategic and main partner. Today, when technology and know-how in developing those technologies, or we're playing a bigger role in developing technologies, the US is again and will remain a strategic and important partner for the UAE. I think what we see today with AI is just a reflection or translation of that. The question is, how can we do things more efficiently and effectively? In the past, when it comes to these advanced systems, let's say that we used to procure in the past, our philosophy was different, but also the nature of these technologies were very different. They were big, they were sophisticated, they're not easy just to move around. So controlling them was easier, and it was very easy to categorize them as civilian versus dual use versus purely military and so on. That's not possible today with the technologies that we're dealing with. Almost everything is dual use. At the same time, the world is changing really fast. So to ensure that momentum stays or even becomes, that we bring even more momentum to accelerate this cooperation, then we need to change the ways that we work together to be more efficient and address these challenges more effectively and efficiently. And I think more discussions need to be in place between both nations to come up with those innovative and creative kind of ways of working together differently compared to the past.
Right.
Technology security and know-how security is something becoming very, very critical in the tech ecosystem. The UAE understands that. The UAE addresses these two topics very seriously because, again, we are not in a quiet part of the world. Again, a country like the UAE, that our national interest dictates that we actually have to work with everyone. Our economy requires that for us to work with the East and the West. The same way that the US works with the East and the West, from an economic point of view. But then how can we do it in a responsible and a transparent way that brings confidence to our partners? At the same time, how can our partners work with us also to address our concerns when it comes to the responsible use of these technologies that we jointly develop together? So one thing I want to make very, very clear, when it comes to our credibility, when it comes to the trust that our partners put in us, and also our sovereignty, the UAE will never, ever allow any country to sabotage any of its partners through us. And if we find out that happens, we take swift action to address that risk and that issue. So, and we have a track record with countries like the US. Again, if you look at our nuclear program, look at our space program, if you look at our military and defense cooperation and systems that we have, the F-16s and other systems, highly sophisticated systems that we procured from the US, I think we need to build on those experiences and that track record. There is a lot of things that we gained over the past 50 years of relationship between the UAE and the US that we shouldn't start from scratch. We should learn from that, I think, and to maintain momentum and bring more momentum to this relationship in technology and other areas.
My last question to you, Your Excellency, is it seemed to me at every milestone in your country's technological advancement, you were there. You're now serving in this diplomatic position. You have clear objectives when you want to get with AI. You have a strategy, you're working towards that, you have a space strategy as well. Where do you think this will take you personally at the next level? What would you be working passionately maybe after this?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, but what I can tell you is my main focus and the leadership within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Foreign Minister himself, who's also the Deputy Prime Minister, and the team within my office, we are all focused on making sure that UAE has the best technology and the best know-how to address our national needs, and to work very closely with our strategic partners like the US, who is our main strategic partner and our main country when it comes to areas even beyond technology, that we'd like to find ways to be able to get more out of this relationship. With President Trump's visit to the UAE, there were big announcements. We're talking about $1.4 trillion investment, that the majority into the US economy, that the majority of that will go into AI and advanced tech. That tells you a lot. That's a huge commitment. And for that, we need to make sure that this relationship is taken to the next level. It's shielded from the noise that sometimes derail us and take us away from the main objectives and the benefits that such partnerships bring to both nations. I mean, it's not just like economically, but even socially, like the job that could be created in both countries, in the UAE, in the US, from such collaborations, having access to the technology and deploying those technologies to benefit humanity, and setting standards and kind of golden rules for others to learn from. I think a lot we can do, and I think we are already doing that, but I think there's more momentum that we can bring to this relationship.
Your Excellency, thank you for stopping by. I wish you a pleasant trip to DC. Again, I enjoyed really the conversation. Thank you for tuning in to Memos to the President, and I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I enjoyed with the Assistant Foreign Minister, His Excellency Omran Sharaf. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.